there, cuties! Today we're talking about Gilmore Girls, specifically Rory Gilmore, and the absolute lie it is that she somehow experienced character assassination when she went to Yale. That little bitch was always a little bitch, and I have proof. Anyone who has seen the show will tell you that Rory winds up being an incredibly shitty person by the time she's at Yale. But what they don't tell you is Rory starts off the show being a bad friend, a rude person, and a genuinely not kind individual. Rory is nice. She's not kind. She's not good. She's nice. She has this shiny veneer of good girl around her, right? Everyone in Stars Hollow loves her. Every adult in her life thinks she's a perfect student and such a good girl. But what's the truth? The truth is, the second she gets a boyfriend, she starts ignoring Lane to the point where Lane genuinely feels abandoned. The truth is it even her fault? After all, in that first season, we also see Lorelai being a terrible friend to Suki. Is it in the Gilmore's nature to be bad friends? In season 1 of Gilmore Girls, Rory discovers that she's going to be going from her tiny little public school to a private school at Chilton. She begins to develop a relationship with her grandparents, right? So in that transition from going to public school with her best friend Lane and going to private school half an hour away by bus, she develops this sort of disconnect between her and Lane. And rather than work to maintain her friendship, she deprioritizes Lane, focuses more on her schoolwork because she's learning quite quickly that the I'm a smart kid so I don't need to study format doesn't really work in a private school. And she starts to prioritize Dean. And while I have many thoughts on Dean, we can wait for a moment because we're not done with the stuff that Rory does here. In this era of Rory, she starts getting closer to her grandparents, who were emotionally abusive to her mother, who is the person she's closest to in the world. And she continuously acts like Lorelai's perspective on Richard and Emily doesn't matter or is over-exaggerated, right? And the question is, why? And the answer is, because they're never like that with her. And that's the kind of person Rory Gilmore is from the jump. Move on to season 2, and what happens in season 2? We are introduced to Jess Mariano, Luke Danes' nephew, and the one who shakes up Stars Hollow, right? The one who teaches us that Rory Gilmore is not a loyal person. Hey, baby girl. Listen, I can agree with most of the female population that Jess Mariano is a looker. He's a cute boy, he's a bad boy, he reads, he's emotionally mature, he has mommy issues, whatever. Rory is in a relationship with Dean. Rory claims to be in love with Dean and yet continuously emotionally cheats on him. And no one calls it out because at this point, it's like, okay, well, it's her first relationship. She doesn't know how to navigate these things, and she never actually cheats on Dean with Jess, right? What she does do is she misses her mother's graduation to go see this boy. And you can't tell me that's a normal thing to do for a friend. You just can't, especially since she was keeping it a secret because she knew it was wrong. It's season 3. Jess is back. Rory is coming back from her oh-so-wonderful DC trip with Paris, the beautiful, to find that Dean has been waiting for her all this time, and Jess is sucking face with some new blonde bimbo. Keep my girl Shane's name out of your fucking mouth, Rory Gilmore. I hate you. Now, I want to be completely clear here. I will never insult Rory Gilmore in any way based on her looks, because Alexis Bledel is a gorgeous young woman and seems very lovely. And I'm also not going to insult Rory's voice or the way she talks or anything, because Alexis Bledel seems like a lovely person. I just hate Rory Gilmore. Now that I've got Matt out of the way, Rory Gilmore, you stupid idiot, right? So she comes back to Stars Hollow to discover that Jess is back and he's not here for her, right? And that's not good for her because she's still yearning for Jess, right? And she has that little kiss with Jess at the end of season 2, I believe. So she goes into this season thinking that Jess really likes her, but he does not give a fuck. He's with Shane now. Like, yes, he still has that little yearning thing going for Rory, but if Rory had continued to, like, be with Dean, he would have moved on. And yet, Rory is back on her emotional cheating bullshit. And guess who notices? Her boyfriend. Dean notices. He notices in the dance marathon episode that, hey, my girlfriend's being really freaking weird about this guy and his girlfriend, and she won't stop staring at them, and that's kind of weird, and I don't like that guy. And then he realizes, oh, it's because my girlfriend really wants to make out with that guy and is not that into me right now. And so he's like, oh, you're kind of a shitty person, and breaks up with her for a second time. Count that 2 times. Right? The first time it was a bad point on his part. Rory was in the right there, but she's in the wrong here. We will get to my Dean hate later, but right now we're still mad at Rory. Now we're on to season 4. And Rory was with Jess, right? And everything was going great. So now in season 4, Rory is going off to Yale. She is done. She's moving on to bigger and better things. She's given up on Harvard. Harvard doesn't even matter to her anymore. She got in. Doesn't want it. She's going to Yale. And Dean has moved on after she left him and he left her and she got with Jess, right? He moved on. He's with Lindsay now. Lindsay, who is a very sweet girl who deserves nothing but the best. Remember that. Lindsay deserves nothing but the best. She has done good things. She is a good girl. So the last season of Rory's high school career, right? We are getting the last little bits of her planning and getting ready to go away to Yale. And we are seeing Lorelai and Suki build this amazing inn and get ready to run it. And in the last episode, we have a dry run of the inn and everything's going so great. Other than the little Digger-Luke fight, everything's going great at the inn. But wait! Where's Rory? Lorelai goes back to their house to get a camera because Kurt's being crazy and she wants to get photos. And who does she find in her daughter's bedroom? But the married Dean Forrest. Notice I said married. Yes, he married Lindsay. Fresh out of high school, they got married. And yes, is that a bad idea? I agree. Yes. But this is the face of an adulterer. This is the face of another woman. The other woman. And it's really hard to forget that in later seasons, but people really want you to. And I am going to let you know that it ties back in here. We always knew she was capable of it, okay? We then knew. First, she emotionally cheats on Dean with Jess. Then she physically cheats on Lindsay with Dean. Why is Lindsay getting cheated on? She's done nothing to deserve this because Dean Forrest is a dick. Season 5 starts the second day, the day after the Dragonflies dry run, right? Everyone has woken up and gone about their day. Emily comes back to Stars Hollow and wants to have lunch with the Lorelais. Rory and Lorelai are not speaking to each other at this moment, mind you, because Lorelai was like, hey, you can't sleep with another woman's husband. You can't do that. And Rory was like, he was my Dean first. So they're not talking. So in this conversation at lunch, one thing leads to another. Emily is taking Rory away to Europe. Good. Rory comes back. Rory has to go back to school, right? Rory is at Yale now, right? This is her second year at Yale. Funnily enough, we're going to have an instance where now she's dating Dean, but going to Yale. And last time I checked, didn't Dean say he didn't care about Harvard? I wonder how he feels about Yale. I wonder. Anyway, we are introduced to the next dreamboat of the show, Logan Huntsberger, right? And so Logan Huntsberger is an interesting character because off the bat, he's not like Tristan Dugray. He's not immediately flirting with Rory to actually get Rory and like have that ownership in the same way that Dean and Tristan looked at it. He's more flirting with her because he knows it makes her like slightly uncomfortable and he thinks that's funny, right? But he grows to be attracted to her and actually like her and thinks that she has like a lot of depth to her. He's wrong. But Logan is probably the best love interest as a character throughout the series. And we are about to see that he is a very good friend. Unfortunately, Rory doesn't know how to have male friends. I said it. Even her friendship with Marty is weird and creepy and slightly icky. Yeah, so she has this friendship with Logan, right? And she goes to her grandparents' male Yale party, which her mother warned her about, and she didn't listen because remember, she does not care about her mother's childhood trauma. No, she doesn't believe her because it didn't happen to her. Just wait. We'll get there. So she goes to the male Yale party. Dean is coming to pick her up from the male Yale party. Dean comes to pick her up, sees her in a pretty little princess dress with pretty little princess jewelry, and a bunch of boys in tuxedos come pulling out, laughing, drinking, having fun, and he gets insecure. Dean, get insecure? I'm so shocked. It's almost like he's done this before, and they break up. Anybody else wondering why maybe them being in a relationship didn't make any sense in the first place? There we go. But now Logan sees, oh, you're like really sad. We're gonna get drunk and I'm gonna take you home to your mom and you can be happy with your mom and cry to her if you need to, because I don't really wanna deal with that. But so later, her and Logan wind up dating. Not really dating. Casually dating. They're seeing other people, right? And that was the deal going into it. And Rory realizes, oh, I can't do this whole not committed thing. And she gives him an ultimatum, not an ultimatum, right? She says, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. And he goes, oh, you're giving me an ultimatum? And she's like, I'm not giving you an ultimatum. But it is an ultimatum because she's willing to accept his going, then I'll just be your boyfriend now. But in her defense, he actually does a really good job of being a boyfriend. And like, I don't think he was ever truly non-monogamous. I think that was just like what he was doing. Like, he has monogamy in his heart. I don't know. Maybe a Polly, Logan, Jess, Rory fic could go hard. Who knows? But yeah, so that's season 5. And as you can see, yeah, she is worse at Yale, but she was just as bad. She was bad at Chilton. Not good here, not good here. What's the difference? Why do people say that Yale Rory is where the evil started? She was evil from the jump. Do you remember Logan? Remember how much I was praising him and how much I loved him? Yeah, so his father is actually the devil from the Bible. And his father told Rory that she didn't have it. So Rory committed grand theft boat with Logan and got community service and decided to drop out of Yale. And now she's living with her grandparents because once again, her mother's trauma doesn't matter because it didn't happen to her, but it's about to. That's what happens in this season. The season is all about Rory Gilmore experiencing the trauma of Lorelai Gilmore's childhood as an adult. That's it. That's the season. So she's with Logan this whole time. There's no like relationship cheating for the rest of the show until we get into Year in the Life. So we can focus on this right now, right? She's just kind of nothing as a person at this point. All of her dreams, all of the drive, all of the reason we've been given that she is a strong, independent woman is gone. So she's kind of just a woman. Like, there's no strong, there's no independent. There's just woman. And so she joins the Daughters of the American Revolution, the DAR, and she becomes like a party planner. Like, not that there's anything wrong with that, but we want to be a war correspondent. Going to DAR party planner is a jump, right? And at this time, she's still doing community service, right? And there's some really like not okay lines from her and Emily about like people in prison and criminals, and just like really stereotypical, not super chill stuff. But other than that, like, the season ends with the Lorelais reconciling, right? The Lorelais reconcile, Lane gets married, which, by the way, Lane has been kind of treated as like this side character that interacts more with Lorelai than with Rory at this point. Lane no longer feels like Rory's best friend. And that's just a fact. Paris is Rory's best friend for the intents and purposes of the show. Lane is the cool chick who lives in Stars Hollow. But she gets married this season, and there's like a cute little speech from Rory, and Lorelai loses it. At this point, we're back in contact with Christopher, Rory's dad, and he uses this emotional breakdown of Lorelai's as a way to get back involved in her life. Very creepy, very weird, very not okay. Because at this point, Lorelai is with Luke, but she always emotionally cheats on people with Christopher if Christopher is there, which is probably where Rory got it from, now that I'm thinking about it. Like, probably. Season 7. Lorelai gives Luke a wedding ultimatum. He says he's not ready to get married right now, even though they're engaged and we're planning a wedding, because he has a kid now and it's a whole big thing and blah, blah, blah. So Lorelai goes, okay, we're broken up now, and immediately goes and sleeps with Christopher. It is implied that Christopher was perfectly fine with sleeping with a crying, angry woman and actually saw no problem with that. In fact, he's a little insulted that it didn't mean as much to her as it did to him. Okay. So we go into this season with Luke and Lorelai broken up and Christopher encroaching, right? Rory is actually like just doing college stuff. She's becoming the editor of the paper after everybody ousts Paris, because Paris was acting crazy, but, you know, she was involved in a coup against her best friend, which isn't a cute look, but was probably the best choice. I think that there could have been more effort to keep Paris from getting as bad as she did. That's my opinion. One girl's opinion. But what really matters here is that at this point, Rory's not the biggest fan of her father, right? Like, on again, off again, she kind of hates Christopher throughout the series. But at this point, Christopher does nothing but piss this girl off. Lorelai and Chris get back together. Chris decides he has to, like, make up for time to be a real dad, and does nothing but, like, push himself into the life of his adult daughter. And she's, like, not loving it, but she can't say anything about it because now he's with her mom, and it's making things really weird. Christopher, like, coerces, for lack of a better word, Lorelai into marrying him in Paris. This does not go well, because now Lorelai and Chris have to tell Rory, and Rory is not happy her parents are married. Rory really doesn't like that her parents are married. She does not like it, no. And Rory's kind of like all over the place in this season. She goes to visit Logan. She's here missing Logan. And eventually Logan comes back home. She hates Logan's coworker, Bobby, because she's a girl with long legs and blonde hair. Rory Gilmore kind of hates women. Like, she's not like other girls her way to being a misogynist. And that's bad writing. But so Rory and Lorelai have this big disconnect this season until at the very end, when after Lorelai and Chris divorce, Logan proposes to Rory before her graduation, and she says no. And he's like, why not? And she's like, I have my career to think about, but we could do long distance. And he goes, no, we couldn't. We did long distance and it made me want to kill myself, remember? And she's like, oh. And so they break up. Which is the same ultimatum Lorelai gave Luke at the beginning of the season. But when Logan does it, it's bad. And when Lorelai does it, it's good. The morals of this show are very all over the place because I don't think it's ever a good idea to give someone an ultimatum in a relationship. And Lorelai and Luke are fixing their relationship, and Rory is going off to be on the campaign trail with Senator Obama. They're in the same place, they're really understanding each other, and it looks like Rory might be like fully shaping up to be the person that we were told she was in season 1. And then the show ends. And you're sitting there and you're going, okay, this is like a really good ending to the show, actually. All these characters have had a lot of growth. Rory seems to be like actually a fully mature human being, unlike the mature child we were told she was. And then this happened. A Year in the Life. 4 longer episodes, about a season each. In episode 1, Winter, we learn that Rory has a boyfriend who she forgets about constantly. And it's played off as a joke. No one can remember this man. Poor Paul. Poor Paul. No one can remember him. But later, we find out that she is not only in a relationship with Paul and continuously ignoring him because she forgets about him, she's actively cheating on him with who? Logan Huntsberger. My Logan Huntsberger would never. So Rory is cheating on Paul with Logan, but Logan is also engaged to another woman. And my Logan Huntsberger would never cheat on a woman. He allegedly cheats on Rory in Gilmore Girls, but it's made very clear that he thought they were broken up. He doesn't think he's broken up with his heiress fiance. He knows they're together. So why would he do this? Why would he do this? Rory is with Paul. Logan's with his French heiress fiance. And they're hooking up in London. Hey, buddy, you in London. It's sad. Now, while Rory is living this incredibly sad life of shacking up with an engaged man who's her ex-boyfriend in London when she's working, she's also not got a home. She doesn't have a house. Homegirl doesn't have a job, technically, for most of this. But it's like led to be like, oh, well, she never had this kind of finding herself phase. What was her whole I quit Yale arc then, if it wasn't this? It feels like repetition. It feels like we've done this before. You know what I mean? Especially since we also have Logan involved. It just feels very repeaty to me. But regardless, while she's with Paul, while she's cheating with Logan, she hooks up with a third man in a Chewbacca costume.
You're at the Chewbacca costume already?
I know. In a Chewbacca costume, girl. Now, during this era of Rory, we learn that she feels incomplete. She feels like something's missing. And I would go so far as to say that's because she's accomplished nothing that she wanted to back when she was a character in the original show. She is kind of like doing nothing. She's interviewing a character played by Alex Kingston, aka River Song, for a book that gets canceled because that character is like crazy and decides randomly that she doesn't want to do it anymore. And she's being pursued by an online magazine that decides they don't actually want her. She's dating a guy that's completely forgettable, sleeping with a guy who's engaged to another woman, and she's the other woman kept in a separate apartment in London. And then she hooks up with a Chewbacca costume guy. And at the end of the series, this mini-series, it is revealed to us that she is pregnant. By which man, we'll never know. I actually hope we never know. Amy, I am begging you not to write anymore. Stop writing. We do not need to know. We don't. I don't need to know if that's her boyfriend's baby, her affair partner's baby, or Chewbacca's baby. I don't need to know that. Rory Gilmore is a character made of a lack of loyalty. Like, that's how I would sum up her character. She is a nice person who lacks loyalty or strength of character. She has no convictions, no true beliefs, and that's shown to us time and time again from this point to this point, right? And yet people will consistently tell you that Chilton-era Rory did nothing wrong. Maybe it's because she's 16. I'll agree, yeah, 16-year-olds deserve space to grow. But if you can look into the future of a 16-year-old and go, wow, you're still gonna be acting like that, bitch. Don't extend them grace. She's a fictional character. Chilton-era Rory, just as bad as Yale-era Rory. Just as bad as Year in the Life Rory. They are all bad, and they are all one person. She is not a good person. Please stop defending her. This show might be written by a woman, but its female characters leave something to be desired. I'm not saying that the men of this show are well written. I don't think they are. But I'm saying that when a show is written by a woman, it gives you certain expectations. It gives you the expectations that your female characters will be well-rounded, interesting, independent, intelligent, and not completely revolve around being bitchy bad friends. But that's what the Gilmore girls are. From Emily to Rory, those women are bad friends, bad partners, and just genuinely care more about how they are perceived than how they behave. Gilmore Girls is an amazing show to watch over and over again, as long as you can put aside the white feminism laced with arsenic and just enjoy the cozy fall vibes. After all, what's a little racism between friends? After all, what's a little, I don't know, character assassination of Suki? Who does that hurt? Not me. I can handle it just fine. At the end of the day, Rory Gilmore is representation of all of us overachiever girls who hate our best friends deep down. You know, there are so many of us. In fact, all girls hate their best friends, according to this show. So go out there and hate your best friend. That's what Amy Sherman Palladino would want. Yep. Okay, bye.